Hey everybody, hope you guys can hear me okay. Quick sound check. Can somebody write in a comment if you guys can hear me? Waiting for an hour there, dip to buy. Goose duck. Just want to make sure you guys can hear me before I jump in. Testing 1, 2, 3. Let me see. I haven't heard anything, so loud and clear. Excellent. So without further ado, let's not waste any more time and jump right in. So this is the crypto market update for today. We're going to go over a lot of material, a lot of good stuff happening. But as usual, math, money, freedom. Love you all. Thanks for being here. Mike, thank you for jumping in and moderating. And as usual, disclaimer, none of this is investment advice. We've all been through a very hectic last 5 days, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the future and where I believe things are going based on data. So first of all, a little bit of boring news. Shark Tank Kevin O'Leary said he's betting big on DeFi. He didn't mention any names he's betting on, but he's trying to, I think, jump on the coattails of Mark Cuban, who is also very big on DeFi, and so am I. And my favorite names are companies like Uniswap, Aave, PancakeSwap. And it's so funny because when I began, it took me a long time to layer in something else, and that was Ethereum very late last year, early 2020. But this year, it started with Cardano, BNB, Engine Coin, and now I have more than 10 different altcoins all of a sudden because of last week. But I'm going to talk more about my current altcoin holdings and why later. And I'm going to come up with a new revised plan as to what type of mixes of portfolio does it take to be a millionaire in 10 years based on cryptos. So I have some good stuff coming. So thank you for all the support. And again, suggestions down below. But this is something from Willy Woo, big fan. He's not always perfect. He's not always right. But this was an interesting graph from him today based on, of course, Glassnode. So basically, per his metric, the users of Bitcoin double every year. And according to that, we should be 4xing the number of new users jumping on board. So let me take a second to explain exactly what this picture means. So if you go back to 2017, you saw a huge spike in the number of net new Bitcoin users. And we haven't even reached that pinnacle yet. But by his metric, we should be a lot higher than that level, considering the number of users are doubling every year. So conservatively, as an indication for the end of the bull market, we should be about 4x this level. And we're not even at that level. So per this analysis, you could argue that we aren't even a quarter of a way into this bull cycle. So again, we got a lot of cheap coins sitting here in the market, and people are looking as to what they're going to do next. So again, this is good for network health. So, and then tied into that as well, let's look at the net unrealized profit and loss chart. So I'm trying to find patterns and data. Obviously, the first one is that 4x and a quarter. We're not even there. But another way to tie and back up what Willy Woo just said, if you imagine the 2017 bull market, we hit the NUPL line, which is normally considered support. We hit that 4 times in 2017. We just hit it for the first time in this bull market. So basically, we have a spammer in there. So I'm sure Mike is going to be on that. Let me just take care of this guy. Mike, can you handle the spammers, please? Thank you. Sorry about that. They are everywhere. So everybody be very, very cautious. I think we all know what spammers look like by now, but thank you so much for taking care of that. But it's good as a reminder for everybody to be safe. Never give anybody anything. Don't even trust what looks like an exchange. Anyway, back to my NUPL. It is the historic support line for Bitcoin during bull markets. We've only hit it once. We've just gone through that. So expect it to hit it another 4 times. So always keep some powder dry in case we take another dip down. But again, we are still early in this cycle. And that's basically what's very important here about the net unrealized profit loss metric. That's the NUPL. Okay, so I just want to share that with everybody. And this actual market cycle. Every time there's a dip, this is from the Bitcoin Archive today on Twitter, the HODL army grows stronger. So a lot of people were shaken out by this dip, but at the same time, you have to realize that a lot of people are still hodling, and the number of hodlers is growing, which is extremely good. So we do know that during the last 5 days, a lot of new investors that got in over the last 30 days got shaken out, sadly. And the coins that they sold were bought up by people holding between 100 and 1,000 Bitcoins. They're basically very high net worth individuals or institutions. But at the same time, despite that, the number of hodlers, individual hodlers, is actually growing. So that's also extremely bullish news. Now, let's talk a little bit about the bearish situation. And I still see a lot of talk and a lot of concern out there. A lot of people saying, are we going down to 12,000? Are we going to 15,000? Are we going to 20,000? I don't think so. So if we look at this particular chart here, what I'm trying to outline, I don't know if it's visible, but I see a critical level that we need to get above, and that's 40,629. That's basically the 200-day moving average, which historically has been a very strong support level, and we're a little bit under that right now. We got back up above 40K last night, and I saw some people FOMOing in, and it dipped again today. But hopefully we can get up above that 40,600 level and flip it. Now, the on-chain analytics platform Glassnode revealed as well the total number of crypto addresses sending Bitcoin to cryptocurrency exchanges declined on the 7-day time frame, which is also very bullish. So basically, these are all signals that the selling has actually stopped, which is another feather in our cap. Now, another thing that I always look at is the options expiry. We have a big one coming up this Friday. And last week, I said publicly, it wouldn't surprise me if Bitcoin hit 54K. And that was after the bounce. Now, when we look at that level, the reason I chose the 54K level, that's where a lot of options traders placed big bets. You can see the green little mountain there where I put 54K. And this is very, very important. So let me tell you about a couple of things about this. First of all, the call to put ratio is 1.32, which is bullish. So there's more people than normal. But the dip has made the 46 calls and above worthless today. So if you have a call option for Bitcoin, 46K strike or higher, it's worth pretty much nothing. And you'll see as well, a lot of people had really big bets, $70,000, $75,000, $80,000 bets for Friday. And that's probably not going to happen. But the interesting thing to note here is we still may get above that level, that key 46K level, which would make a lot of call option holders very happy. But at the same time as well, you can see just how people position their bets. So net, very few calls under 38K, which means people were overall very bullish. And there's very big put bets, which are people betting Bitcoin to go down to 51K. So that's kind of what this expiry means. Now, it's also important to note that the options markets balance out. So they balance the number of traders who are both short and long together. So it all evens out. But that's always very interesting to look at where the smart money is spending it. Now, if you look at firms like BlackRock, they invest a lot in options for the future. So it's just something, a good tool to keep your eye on as well. And very interesting to see where people are placing their bets and hedging their risk as well. So in other news, here comes some more big money. So those of you who used to invest in the 80s and 90s, you're very familiar with Carl Icahn. And he was considered one of the most successful traders on Wall Street back in the day. He was also a guy nicknamed a vulture capitalist. Now, the interesting thing about this is he now wants to get into Bitcoin in a big way. This guy, very shrewd, only goes where he can make a lot of money fast. He needs to rip companies apart and sell off the parts for more than he bought them for, junk bond king, etc. So really knows what he's doing. So see, as I always say, the big money is coming, and that's another indicator right there that was just released today on Bloomberg. Now, in some Ethereum news, always super exciting, Goldman Sachs, we all heard about this leaked report, but I just want to drill into it a little bit more as well. The leaked document did believe that Ethereum market cap will overtake that of Bitcoin, and they call it the Amazon of Information, which is a super in the cycle, which I believe is very possible. That would mean Ethereum could easily go to 18K if their theory is the cap will increase. Now, the real essence behind this is their major argument is in favor of traditionally Bitcoin as a store of value is limited because of its supply, but demand and not scarcity drives the success of stores of value. So wrap your head around that, everybody. But that's really the key thing as well as to what Goldman Sachs is getting at. And they are kind of riding the coattails of people like Raoul Pal, who basically also mentioned it wouldn't surprise him if the market cap of Ethereum overtook that of Bitcoin. And I still go back to why I'm so bullish in DeFi and what I mentioned at the beginning, because the groundwork, the foundation of all things DeFi is Ethereum. And that's why I think the future is very bright. So we'll see where this all goes. But again, an $18,000 Ethereum would be incredible. So make sure you all have a little piece, just in case Goldman Sachs is right. Who knows? Now, another news, and I hate going back to inflation, but the reason it's important to keep talking about inflation is because it's real and it impacts everybody. And the more inflation there is, and the more signs of inflation the market sees, the more incentive they have to hedge their bets and hedge against inflation. And that means all roads lead to things like Bitcoin. And now the new narrative for Ethereum being a store of value as well is pretty incredible. So the Fed's idea in the past, this is a quote from Larry Summers today, used to be the former US Treasury Secretary under, I'm not sure who he is under, I think Obama, I think. They removed the punch bowl at the party before every the Fed's doctrine is only remove is staggering around drunk, which is very interesting to see. And what he also noted is something that I've been talking about as well, is because of all the stimulus payments, there is no real incentive for a lot of people to go back to work. For example, in Hawaii, there are no Uber drivers. In many parts of the United States, there are no restaurant workers, despite the fact that there's a huge demand for restaurants, because people aren't bothered to work for $10 an hour anymore. And that's huge. And what he said was, I would not have expected the pervasiveness of job shortages while we have unemployment at these levels, which is completely staggering. So basically, we used to have a Fed that reassured people that it would prevent inflation. And now we have a Fed that reassures people that it won't worry about inflation. And that is staggeringly self evident. So the point is, inflation's coming, it's coming hard, it's coming fast. And it will drive a lot of demand for things like Bitcoin. So hang tough, everybody. Future's very bright if you are a crypto holder. Now, it's important to understand inflation because this was another interesting one I saw today on Twitter. Is Venezuela has the third highest level of Bitcoin adoption in the world. And just to put things in perspective, I'm not saying it's going to get that bad in the US, but these are stacks of cash benchmarking against a piece of chicken or some carrots or some toilet paper. And apparently, somebody said that these pictures are actually very old. It actually requires a lot more money now to buy those same assets. So the point is, inflation is very punitive. We all need to protect ourselves against it. So I'm sure you all realize it every time you go to a store as well. So just be careful, everybody. Now, PayPal, in other great news, today was a good news day. And the FUD tide is turning from being very negative to very positive. PayPal, which are doing a truckload of crypto business right now, way more than they ever expected, they will now let customers withdraw crypto. So the key point here is they don't know when they're going to allow it. They're working on it, but they will allow download to wallets, and they allow the ability of users that hold PayPal to be able to send it to others and make payments in Bitcoin or crypto, whatever else they hold. You can buy things like Ethereum and Bitcoin on PayPal. And this will be a huge move. And the most important thing and the most exciting thing for me is I know many of you out there have crypto on Robinhood. This will enable you to actually put pressure on Robinhood so that they will allow you also to download to your wallet. So don't feel compelled to sell your Bitcoin unless you have a certain reason to, which I'm going to talk about next. So tax news. So if you do have, imagine a situation where you do have Bitcoin that you bought for $9,000 in Robinhood, and now it's worth 40K, 50K, whatever the number may be in the near future. There is a way, if you did buy it at, say, 65K, you could actually sell it at a loss. Now, in the past, and I had some tax questions on this a few weeks ago, and I wasn't sure of the answer. And I said, check wash sales, even though Bitcoin is considered a property by the IRS. But the two loopholes that are now aware, and this was published by CNBC today, and I'm not a tax accountant or a tax advisor, so please check before you try any of this. But first of all, the two big loopholes are you can sell a capital asset at a loss to offset capital gains tax. So imagine you had $100,000 in gains and you made a $50,000 in Bitcoin losses or $100,000 in Bitcoin losses. You can actually trade your way out of that and incur that loss, but screwed as a wash sale. So the technical terminology of a wash sale, for those of you who used to trade a lot, a wash sale is a sale of a security at a loss and then repurchase at of the same or substantially identical security shortly before or after. These losses sales are not deductible under the eyes of the IRS. They might be different in other jurisdictions around the world, but this is why they put a stop to that for equities, selling equities, but not for crypto. So just something to consider. I know tax season is kind of over, but this is very, very important information as well to bear in mind. And again, do your math on a piece of paper. It's always good to reduce the amount of tax you owe through, of course, legal means. And other good news, you guys all probably heard about this, but Apple made a post online of a position to seek an alternative payments manager with crypto experience, Apple wallets, etc. Now, what stunned me about this is, first of all, Apple Pay is a huge product. I use it, been using it on my phone since it first came out, and it's very handy in grocery stores. First of all, but decides to enter into the crypto exchange business, we think the firm could immediately gain market share and disrupt the industry. And this could unlock a multi-billion-dollar opportunity with a few clicks and completely increase the value of Bitcoin and other crypto assets. So it's good to see eventually that Apple are making these moves. I'm just surprised it's so late. I thought they would have been way ahead of this. So another thing, another advice, but not advice, of course. I'm not giving any advice. This is a very strange story. So I always talk about people using Bitcoin or wanting to get paid in Bitcoin, but I never imagined people would be stupid enough to do something like this. So this fellow, I think his name is Burkett, paid a $13,000 fee in Bitcoin to have his lover who jilted him. He contract with a group on the dark web for M for hire services. I don't want to say any bad words, but you guys can figure out what he tried to do. And fortunately, a media outlet leaked this and shared it with the FBI, which is great. But the couple of things here is something like crypto that's so easily traced and commit a crime like this. Anyway, it's a very sad situation. But the other craziest part of this thing is even though this guy tried to attempt a very bad thing against getting rid of somebody, the craziest part is he only faces up to 10 years in prison. You know, I thought the penalty would have been a lot worse. Anyway, sometimes it's good for information to be shared and just leaving it there. Now, speaking of getting jilted, and a lot of people did get jilted. I see a typo there. Don't get jilted. A lot of people did get jilted over the past couple of days. So these are just four little charts I put together of the performance over the past 2.5, 3 days. So Matic is up, went from 80 cents to $2.25 or 185%. Engine Coin blew up today. It's up 133% since 3 days ago. Solana is up 106% from 3 days ago. And Chainlink is up over 100% as well. So it is just a reminder, crypto is extremely volatile. Anything can happen. I always say things like, there is a 1%, probably less than 1% chance that Bitcoin could go to zero. But remember, where else can you make, 4 different cryptos? I own all of these 4. I got 3 of them over the last couple of days, and they're all up over 100% just in a couple of days. Like, what else is so volatile? So just want you guys to realize, for high risk, you get high return. But always, never forget, you're taking on huge risk when you get involved in crypto. But if your timing is right, it can be very powerful. So that's kind of the message here. And also, don't get scared out by FUD or anything else. A lot of people may have seen Engine Coin go from $2 down to 80 cents. Oh, I can't take this anymore. And I know on Patreon, there's tons of people that nearly broke and nearly sold right before the bounce. Just be patient. Think big picture. If in doubt, zoom out and wait. Wait for the end game. Wait for the top of the bull market. Wait forever, but just don't get shaken out by all of the FUD and craziness. Okay? that is the final message. Oh, no, another good news, actually. Finally, Polygon, you can see my random stream of consciousness here. These guys released a new SDK, which will basically framework for a multi-chain future for Ethereum. So this is in itself another big news, and that's why Matic is completely on fire. It's also, we have an analysis coming on Matic as well, and Uniswap and HBAR. They're all coming as quickly as we can pump them out. So stay tuned for that. If you like that type of stuff, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Big thank you to everybody out there, and let's open this up to some Q&A. I'm going to pop open the questions right now and see what's going on in your world, and we'll chat for 5 or 10 minutes, or however long as the questions go for. So let me see. Yeah, big thank you to Mike. Mike is our guy keeping the spammers out there, and very, very sorry about that. Eli Cohen, thank you so much. You are very kind. Thank you all for being there. So let's go and jump to some questions. Alex Kimberly, over the next 10 years, you can do a lot more with 10 Cardano than you'll be able to with 10 Ethereum. We shall see. I know 10 Cardano is a hell of a lot cheaper. I think there was this time there when Ethereum, I think, was 300 times more expensive than Cardano. So we'll see where it goes. I think, personally, I've always said this in the very beginning. I have Cardano, but I'm 100x more bullish on Ethereum. But I'm hedging my bets, and I'm investing in Cardano every time it's under $1.15. So then I just grab more. I like things that are $1 because it's very easy for something that costs $1 to go to $3. So Jim Schofield, welcome in. Don't get jilted. Sorry. I hope I'm using that. Sometimes I use different words or words that are wrong. So Vladimir, yes, Solana is a solid play. The situation, when the bull market is over and there's a sell-off, how low do you think it'll go in the bear market? I've answered this a couple of times over the past couple of weeks because it's a very common question. So I think, because if you take things like Bitcoin and things like Ethereum and the amount of different types of money coming in, it's no longer a retail play, it's an institutional play, it's a high net worth play, it's a treasury play from many companies. It will bring a lot more stability. And on top of that, the futures and the money markets and the big banks getting into the mix and the increase in on-ramps for people to buy crypto, there will be some type of bear market because people have that as a preconceived notion in their heads. But at the same time, I don't think the retracement will be anywhere as near as bad as it used to be in the past. Again, a lot more stability will come. And also, if you look at the effect of the halving and the impact of the halving, it's half every 4 years. Therefore, the retracement should be half, logically speaking. So I'm not that concerned at all. So Wade Hendrickson, good question. Recommend ETH stop loss range. Well, first of all, don't place stop loss limits on crypto. You can do that in equities, never on crypto, because you will be wicked out. Just look at the volatility of the last 5 days. Second of all, I think the future for Ethereum is very, very good. As each day goes by, I get more and more bullish, and I say that in this bull cycle, I think Ethereum could hit $8,900. You just saw Goldman Sachs saying it could hit $18,000. So I think placing a bet to get out of Ethereum is kind of dangerous. But if I had to place one, it would be definitely under the $1,600 range. If you are really, really concerned, but don't ever put one in there, but watch it manually and determine the time by watching the macro situation to determine if you want to get out. So that'd be kind of not advice, but what I would do. But I have no intention. I'm playing the long game on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I'm going to hold on to those things as long as I possibly can. So, yeah, Rohel Sheikh, Ethereum changed my life. It changed my life too. And I only bought early last year. It was incredible. I never expected it to go so far, so fast. So, Uncle D, MicroStrategy price when Bitcoin gets to 100K. I think it'll be around, can't remember the exact numbers, but somewhere around $1,100, $1,200, that type of time frame. But with a little bit of spike in volatility, we could get back up to $1,300 pretty easily, Uncle D. So I hope that answers your question. And again, I'm still confident we will see $100,000 Bitcoin in the next 6 to 12 months. maybe even a lot more. As a lot of people saying 350K, 288K, all these numbers. You'll see. Yes, TA Tuesday from Luffy Hacky. Sorry about the TA Tuesdays, but there's been so much going on with the down market, and there's been so much demand for token analysis that the TA Tuesday has been put on the back burner, as they say. So sorry about that. Let's see what else is going on here. And what percentage of Bitcoin and ETH for the beginner portfolio? So right now I'm 60-40. So I'm 60% Ethereum is Bitcoin, 40% Ethereum, 40% Ethereum, but I've been adding a lot of altcoins lately. So I'm actually putting together a new pie chart, which will show all my crypto holdings. And then I'll do a separate pie chart with my crypto proxies, things like PayPal, Square, MicroStrategy, those types of things. Tezos from Austin Ellis. I have not done a deep dive on Tezos. And JV Fender 313, retire off Solana. Yes, I'm working on a new retire portfolio. A lot of people want to see a very simple strategy to become a whole coiner. Others want to find ways of having a mix of cryptos with a very, very safe kind of conservative bets as to what you need. Do you need 1,000 Cardano, 33 Ethereum, 1 Bitcoin, etc.? Like literally 33 Ethereum will get you there in 10 years. 1 Bitcoin will probably get you 85% of the way there, if not all the way there. So we'll see. Mr. Logic, 1971, you take profit. That was an interesting time. That's the one the US moved away from the gold standard. You take profit from Bitcoin and Ethereum. I don't think so. What I would do is hedge against my positions and not necessarily take profits, but maybe do things like sell calls that are a little bit in the money or buy puts. Where is VeChain headed? Well, B. Perry, as you saw probably from my VeChain analysis, which I got a lot of heat over because my price prediction wasn't as aggressive as people wanted. And I'll explain that again for the last time. I benchmarked VeChain off of the incumbent players, which are SAP and Microsoft, and I valued them based on those exact principles of how real world companies are valued, not how Dogecoin is valued. And my conclusion wasn't that high. But I think when I dug into things like Chainlink, like I'm so much more bullish on Chainlink on Solana than I am on VeChain right now. But then again, if VeChain can expand beyond supply chain management, I think the future is also very bright for them. So this is from FirmBiz000. Thank you so much for the donation to the bets. Ethereum Foundation sold $122 million worth of ETH. Is there any concern with this, or was this perhaps used for funding? Thanks for what you do, Best Group John. Appreciate that. There's no concern at all. One of the things that we look at when we look at all of the different coins out there, there is this whole area called tokenomics. How many tokens are held by foundations? How many tokens are held to pay for the network and fees and all that type of stuff? So, when you look at $122 million over the whole market cap of $500 billion, which it was a few days ago, it is nothing. So again, it's just there, but there are costs to run the network. So I need to dig in to find out exactly what this money was used for, but that type of amount would not concern me at all. It's like some people get really concerned when the CEO of a company sells a little bit of stock, but sometimes people need to pay bills. Sometimes they've got capital gains, they need to sell some stock to pay taxes on, etc. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. And a big thank you as well to Mike for taking care of Big Fish Artwire, the spammer. Um, Velari Video, thank you so much for the contribution. So let me see. I enjoyed your sobering VChain analysis. Yeah, sometimes it's sobering, but when I did my link analysis yesterday and I shared my numbers, that was the first time my price predictions were higher than anybody else. So, JR, hey James, best exchange to buy link. Any thoughts on Gemini with the Winklevosses? Thanks. So I actually buy link on FTX. It's a new brokerage. I have 8 crypto brokerages, which is completely ridiculous. But I've been extremely impressed with Link and their fills. Like I'm looking at real time spreads between, things like Robinhood and Coinbase Pro and Voyager. And the FTX platform is stunning from many, many different perspectives. So think about that. Check it out. And I'll drop a referral link in the description where you save. I think it's 5 or 10% on your commissions as well. But they've got very, very low fees. And one of the things that people don't realize is when they get involved in exchange, and if you want to transfer your crypto out or move it to a wallet, sometimes the fees can be very excessive. So these are hidden costs that you don't sometimes realize when you pick an exchange. And I should actually do a detailed exchange review of my experience to share with you all, because these hidden fees can really cost a lot. So be careful of that. So Michael Connolly, thank you so much. My portfolio is currently Bitcoin, ETH, Cardano, and HOD8, looking to diversify more with stocks. What would you look at next, or should I buy more HOD8? I think it's interesting. I've been thinking a lot about the miners over the past couple of days because of the whole green initiative and the work that Michael Saylor is doing with Elon Musk to push a lot of miners to more renewable energy sources, which I think is fabulous. It'll get rid of the last piece of FUD and hopefully draw more miners away from China into North America, which will get rid of another piece of FUD that people use against Bitcoin. But mining is a cutthroat business. It's very fickle. It's not safe. I have a little bit of HUD8 because I did analysis of all the miners, and I always put my money where my mouth is. So if I analyze something, you'll know out of the gate that I've bought it, because I wouldn't analyze something without, unless of course it was warning to everybody, don't buy it. So in that case, I would not buy HUD8. I still am very bullish on things like Tesla and some of the biotech names like Invitae that are very beaten down right now. But you've got to have a longer term perspective. If you're short term speculating, I think Tesla could have a bad year this year. But if they nail FSD at the end of the year and then the robo taxis are coming next year, you're looking at a $3,000 stock. So that's just my thought there. I still think the work that Tesla's doing, despite all the Elon Musk missteps over the past couple of weeks, it is staggering what they're going to be doing, with Starlink and the tunnel company, the boring company, energy storage, utility networks. I mean, it's just staggering. So I think everybody needs to own a little bit of Tesla. And by the way, the time to buy Tesla was last week. It was super cheap. I actually bought some leaps on Tesla. And that, my cost basis for Tesla is extremely low. Thank you for all you do. This from my rescue dog, Luna. Oh, Mel, thank you so much. I'm going to showcase. We have a kind of a rescue cat here as well, but it's very, very introverted, very shy, and I'll find a way to showcase the cat. And I'm looking for some dogs as well. T Blue SG, thank you so much. Is that Korean won? Wow, I didn't know we had people from Korea. If it is, I could be completely wrong. But we have a comment here from Lukud. No to Doge. Tesla to accept Doge? Oh, really? Is that new? That would be funny. But sometimes Elon Musk does things that are a little bit eccentric. So don't necessarily follow him. Yes, and Mr. Keyframes, NVIDIA of 1-to-4 stock split. Trading Desk have a 10-for-1 stock split. And I got in heavy into Trade Desk as well. So check it out. So Jared Ward, this is a very good question. If Ethereum outpaces Bitcoin, will you try to maintain your 60-40 allocation? No. It's kind of funny because when I first started with my Ethereum, I was 5% Ethereum, 95% Bitcoin. And then I started adding to my positions. And my goal was to get up to 85-15. When I did my first, I don't know what it was, analysis of where I thought Ethereum could go back in 2020 for my personal investments, I wanted to try have enough to have at least $1 million worth in the year 2030. And then I wanted to get my ratio of 15%, 85%. That was my whole logic. But now it's kind of balancing itself out automatically. So what I did do, I have been adding to Bitcoin during the dip, and I bought some Ethereum. I think it was just around, just under 2K the other day, just because, I thought, well, it was at 4,300 a few days ago. Now I can buy it for 1,900. That's an easy, 2x on the money. So that was my logic. But no, now I want to just watch things and let them shake out as they may. The bags are good for Ethereum and Bitcoin. I'm still adding when it's super cheap, because what I'm trying to do now is use that money to pay for things, because a lot of people want to be paid in crypto. So what I'm doing is taking fiat, buying things like Bitcoin cheap to be able to pay people with Bitcoin when it's worth more down the line. So that's kind of the way I'm thinking about Bitcoin now as well. Not necessarily to hold for an investment, but to buy as much as I can, use my fiat to be able to use it to spend on things. So, Mike Brown, any thoughts on Cake DeFi chain? Yes, Cake is, I think it's my number fourth or number fifth target for DeFi. And I'm building up a big kind of, call it a DeFi fund within my personal portfolio. And I'm going to show people what that is. A fellow animal lover, great, lots of animal lovers here. I'm going to showcase exactly what that looks like and tie it back into the whole new retirement plan as well. So Villari video, if my powder is low, is there a case where it makes sense to sell some higher cost coin to repurchase at a lower cost? Well, I always, but that's a really tricky question because every time I buy a coin, I always do a price prediction. I calculate the cost today versus the upside. Now, for example, Polygon, I have a position in Polygon that I get into a few days ago, but I wouldn't buy it today because it's gone up nearly 200, 300% in a few days. But what I try and find is top mid cap or large cap crypto names that have a really strong value proposition and use case that haven't bounced yet. So I call these the laggards. So what people do is they put the money on the shiny names first, like Matic, Chainlink, etc. And then now it's Uniswap, I think, bounced. I bought some Uniswap today as well. But there are names that are just outside there that are about to bounce. So what you could do is sell something that you believe is at the top to buy something that hasn't bounced yet. But again, you always have to take into account taxes. If you're incurring short-term capital gains, you're going to get hammered if you're in somewhere like California, New York. So, for example, the old example is if you bought Bitcoin at 10,000, it goes to 100,000, and you have short-term capital gains, you literally have to be able to buy back in at 50,000 to be able to, or 54,000, I think is the number, to be able to get back in after taxes. So just be very careful of tax ramifications. Always do your calculations. Um, oh, well, lots of you guys are busy today. Scipio Azama, if you exchange comparison, can you factor in security and reputation? I always look at security and reputation. In fact, I don't put my money anywhere without having a very, very strong look at who's backing them and how secure they are and what type of network security and storage security they have. I will definitely do that. But that's a very good point. And everybody, be very careful with counterparty risk when you're moving things around. And that is a huge risk in this space. So I am ultra conservative in that regard. From Michael Konduris, withdrawal fees are typically much higher than commission. I use withdrawalfees.com when choosing exchange. Given KuCoin a favorite, excellent point. I wasn't aware of withdrawalfees.com. I actually bought some crypto a while ago on a site called Voyager to be able to buy Bitcoin and then immediately transfer it to somebody as a payment for something. And I got hammered in withdrawal fees. I was shocked how high they were. So that was a real wake up call for me. Anyway, for Voyager, because I wasn't aware of that going in. Thoughts on Happy partnership with Solana? That's a big one, actually. I have a lot of people pushing me to review Happy today. I know they're number 184 in coin market cap, but they're doing some very good things. They have a good management team, and we are researching Happy right now because somebody on Patreon made the case that convinced me to look in there. But we have other things coming first. We're looking at Aave, HBAR, Uniswap. They're the next three coming up. So everybody wants to look at Happy. And Happy is exactly the case that I mentioned before of something that hasn't bounced yet. It's very cheap. It's ranked 184 or something, and that could easily be a 5x, 10x in short order if it is what I think it could be. So your questions are brilliant, and I'm going to wrap up now because I'm starting to spit feathers and I need to drink something. But thank you all for all the support, and be careful out there, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow I think is going to be HBAR analysis. So for all the HBAR fans out there, stay tuned. Take care, everybody. Thank you.